This month is a little bit different because I only played 4 games, but I played a lot of those 4 games and I'm going to tell you all about them. But first, hi, I'm Ellie, and this is the Cozy Gaming Club where I love to shine a light on lesser known cozy games, and I think this first one was really easy to miss. Research Story first launched into early access back in 2023, and while I played a little of it at the time, it didn't really hook me. Well, in July, it just reached 1.0, and I knew I had to give it a second try now it was finished. If you're tired of the typical farming sim structure, then this one may interest you. In Research Story, you play as a researcher who's moved to the town of Shimmerbrook to discover the plants and animals there, and contribute your findings to the Violet Archive. That means that instead of buying seeds or animals from another villager, you have to collect wild plants or tame animals to learn more about them. The more you collect, grow, and tame, the more you'll learn about them until you have enough to submit a research journal to the archives. One of the things I liked is that while you're submitting research to the Violet Archive, so are the other researchers, and you're all working together to create an overview of the entire region. Speaking of the other researchers, the NPCs in this game are so creative, and they all have fun character portraits, and 10 of them are romanceable. In such a magical world, it's nice to see characters that don't seem to be human, like this orc or this kenku, and maybe this is an elf? And if you do end up dating them, it has a pretty unique dating mechanic, where instead of having a cutscene for each heart event, you take them on actual dates. Together you complete activities in a location, and the more activities you complete, the better your date goes, and the more your relationship improves. The animals are also done differently in this game. Rather than buying them from a rancher like Marnie, instead you'll tame them in the wild and bring them home with you. And they can follow you around as you explore. Plus, there are sparkly rare ones to collect as well. Each animal drops a unique resource, although you don't need to have them tamed for this. But once you have tamed them and befriended them, they'll drop a secondary resource. They'll also unlock a skill as your friendship improves to help you on your adventures, like collecting an extra berry or seed every time you do, which is super helpful, especially as you'll need a lot of them for making food for your animals. Each animal has a food preference, just like in real life, so you can't just give them all standard animal feed. Instead, you need to make a fish meal or a fruit meal depending on your animal's preferences, and each animal needs one of these a day, and you'll need a bowl to craft each one. Making food was one of the worst parts of this game for me, and I don't know if I just missed something, and we'll get to that in a second, but I swear I spent so long making all the different foods for my animals each day. It was such a time burden, and they were so expensive to buy from the shops. I wanted all of the cute animals to follow me around, but the cost was too high. And following on from that, a lot of things just aren't explained in this game. For example, I was trying to learn how to grow a plant I found in the mine, and it needed a specific type of soil and a shade to keep the sun off it. Except nowhere did it explain how to craft or find or buy these items, and I still hadn't figured it out by the time I finished spring. This happened a lot throughout the game too, and sometimes I figured things out by chancing across them in the traveling car or someone new joining the town, but it wasn't explained anywhere. On a plus, there's no combat from what I can tell in the game, and they have a ton of accessibility settings that can help customize it to your preference, like extending the day length, increasing your stamina, and turning off fainting to list just a few. I would definitely recommend tweaking the stamina one, as I found the base stamina level very cruel, as I'd basically expend it all just on watering my crops each day. My final pro is that I really like the mining puzzles. It's kind of like Roots of Patcha, where you have to solve riddles to progress deeper into the mines. And I don't hate that. It's a bit different to grinding down every floor, although some of the puzzles are locked behind resources only available in later seasons, which can be a bit frustrating if you want to explore more in the early game. On the con side, I did find the movement speed a little slow, but that's kind of offset by the fact the world is quite small. There are only 8 areas to visit in total, where I'm up to in the game anyway, so it's quite easy to get around, but that also means there's not a lot to explore. Also, I don't know if it's just me, but towards the end of my first season in the game, I did start having some frame rate issues where my character started running even slower. There was also one annoying technical thing it would do when I was running down the screen, where it would just constantly highlight my character with the hand. They're just a couple of small bugs though. I played the entire first season of Research Story, and these are my thoughts after around 10 hours of gameplay. Ultimately, I really liked the concept for this game, but I didn't like the repetitiveness or the grindiness of it, and other games just ended up catching my attention this month and I didn't end up going back for it. But hopefully this helps you decide if this is the game for you. Moving on from Research Story to this next game, which may be one of the most unique farming games I've ever played, and it's got an in-depth plot to boot. In Grimshire, you're saved by a small town after your home in the capital is destroyed by a catastrophe. They give you a new home in town, and as things take a turn for the worse, they ask you to work with them to help save it. Essentially, your world is now threatened by a deadly plague that's turning animals rabid, and the only way to save your town is to revitalize the rundown farm and save enough food to see you through this calamity. There are many ways to get food, from growing crops to fishing in the rivers to raising livestock and foraging, but you'll need to balance all of them as your townsfolk have different preferences. As everyone's an animal, some of them are herbivores, some are carnivores, and some are omnivores, and you'll need to make sure that you have enough food for all of them. Besides collecting the food, you'll also need to find a way to preserve it, as food does decompose and go off in this game, so be prepared to make a lot of smokers and drying racks. And I mean a lot. If this is sounding a bit stressful, then don't worry, because there are multiple difficulty levels to play through, and if you want to see a bit more of what it's like, then I played the first month on my channel. But let's get into the pros and cons, starting with your playable character. At the moment, you can only choose between 3 animals, and I say at the moment because this game is in early access and will hopefully be adding more content. I would love to see more animal varieties added here, as well as a bit more variety in your coat patterns, but for now you can play as a rabbit, a fox, or a bear, each with their own traits. The NPCs in this game are great, and I love their character portraits so much. They've done a great job with those. One of the first quests in the game is going around to meet them all, as per usual in farming games, but I love that every person you meet gives you a gift to help you get started, which really makes it feel like a small community banding together in troubling times. That's one of the things I think most farming games are missing that games like Grimshire and Fields of Mystery have excelled at. One other thing that makes the NPCs so good is that they all have reactive dialogue to recent events in the game, which makes it feel like you're actually experiencing the story alongside them. And there's a lot of story to discover. I swear that every time I thought I'd finally managed to get a grip on things, they threw another curveball at me. But it's worth noting that only the first year of the game is available at the moment due to early access. You can technically continue playing past this point, but the story won't progress any further, and you'll be stuck living Winter 28 again and again until they update it. Some of the other things I liked is that they've changed farming a little, so once your crops have fully grown, you can either harvest them immediately, or you can leave them another day to let them go to seed. This is great if you don't have enough money to buy lots of seeds for a new crop, or you forage something in the wild. Grimshire also has a skill tree, and you can unlock new skills by leveling up. That will make the game easier, like catching double a fish, or highlighting forageables in the wild, or telling you everyone's favourite items. They've also added so many quality of life features to the game. For example, you have villager locations on the map and in the character menu, all of your machines have timers on them to let you know when they'll be finished, and so much more. On the downside, the festivals feel very lackluster, although the devs have said they're looking to improve them during early access. I also had a little difficulty getting to grips with the controls, and I hope they add a way to remap them in the future. And some of the mechanics in the game could have been a little clearer, like how to use a sprinkler system or how to unlock the second mine. I was grinding to get to the bottom of the first one when a YouTube commenter kindly let me know that I just have to hit it with my pickaxe to open it. A big shout out to AnnaB2790. Personally, I found the stamina to be quite limited too, and I was often having to choose between eating food to have stamina to make more food, or giving my current food to the root shelter to feed my residents. It was a tough choice, and on that note, I had a similar issue with money, as usually you're selling all your veggies in a farming game, but in this game you need them, so what do you sell instead? I found later in the game that the Lost and Found generates some random furniture items that you can sell for money, or selling quartz from the mine was a good alternative as well. But honestly, I gotta say that out of all of the games I played this month, this one is probably my favourite. There aren't many farming sims with great stories to follow along with that give you a reason to actually farm and to interact with your townsfolk. and it really feels like they've nailed it in this one. There's probably around 50 hours of content here going off what I've played so far, if you don't restart every time you lose a villager, that is. Oh, I should probably mention that as well. Your villagers can, and probably will, die in this game if you don't keep up with the food production. So please be aware of that before going into it. It does raise the stakes quite a lot, but I actually found that really motivating, and I was there working hard every day until midnight, grinding away because I had to save everyone. Okay, this next one is going to be very polarizing, but I'm just going to reiterate again, this is my opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion, and I'm going to be listing all of my pros and cons for the game. Okay? We're ready? Let's go. Tales of the Shire is a Lord of the Rings life sim about living as a hobbit in Bywater, and everything you get up to in your new town. The main plot revolves around improving Bywater so that it can earn official village status and be recognised as a village by the wider Hobbiton community. From the get-go, it's very wholesome and has most of the typical farming sim activities like fishing, foraging, and cooking. Although it is missing mining and bug catching if you're particularly partial to those. One of the best things is that there's no stamina bar, so you can do as much as you like every day, and each day is around 30 to 40 minutes long. If you stay up until the very end of the day, there's no real warning to let you know when the day's about to end, so you need to keep an eye on the timekeeper, but thankfully the punishment for fainting isn't too harsh. You just wake up the next day in the morning instead of at dawn. Another big benefit is that you can save whenever and wherever you want from the options menu, although one drawback is that you can't sleep until evening or nighttime, which does mean you can't easily skip ahead a few days if you want to for whatever reason. Now, I will say that I am playing on PC and can't speak for the Switch version, but I've encountered very few bugs in the game. I've had 2 bugs I'm aware of, which included turning in my vegetables early to farm a cotton even though I hadn't grown any, and loading into my save to find myself beneath the world one day. But I simply quit out, re-verified my files, and then when I loaded back in it had fixed, and it only happened one time. I played the game non-stop from start to finish, and at 13 hours I've just finished the main storyline, which I really like, to be honest. There aren't many farming games that have a main plotline to follow, and I like that this one did, and it was really well done. A lot of the quests at the beginning, especially the Meet the Villagers quests, are back and forth fetch quests, but I thought the story got really interesting towards the end, and I gotta admit, I was kinda sad when it was over. But there's still plenty to do in the game, like level up my clubs to max and befriend everyone, and I'm definitely gonna be playing more. Mainly because I want to see what winter is like, because autumn was so pretty. While we're talking about plot and storyline, I will add that this game doesn't have voice acting. I'm used to farming games not having voice acting, so personally this isn't a big issue for me, but there is a lot of talking in this one, so I can understand why people want it so much. However, I will say that while there's a lot of talking during the quests, the NPC interactions outside of quests is quite limited. Unlike other farming games, you can't talk to the NPCs whenever you want, as they only have dialogue for the quests, and even when you invite them over for dinner, they don't really have anything to say to you. There's also these random NPCs who just kind of stand around all day. Some of them have dialogue, but you can't talk to them, and they're kind of redundant. There are these additional tales that you can come across to learn more about the world around you and the characters in it, which do provide a little extra interaction. But they're not recorded anywhere, and you just have to look out for the glittery blue sparkles as you run around. One thing I do like about the NPCs is that they give you gifts when you reach the next friendship level, like recipes or furniture. This is super helpful because the more recipes you have, the easier it is to cook for everyone. And the furniture that you unlock through the friend upgrades is much nicer than the furniture you can buy in the shop. Like, seriously, why does Fosco only sell cups and cutlery? Plus, when you reach a milestone level, they'll give you an upgrade. For example, Willow will unlock a room in your house and Farmer Cotton will give you a chicken. They also have a couple of tracking systems so that you can find the NPCs whenever you need them. The first way they do this is by adding the NPC to the map once you've met them for the first time. And the second way is the birds. I find the birds are kinda like Marmite, you either love them or you hate them, and I am definitely the latter. Essentially, it was a fun and whimsical thing they added to the game where instead of having a mini-map or quest markers to follow to find where you're going, you have these blue birds to lead you. They fly in and out and point you in the right direction, but the issue is that they're very easy to miss. Oh, and they don't go inside the buildings. I found them really hard to keep track of, and I just stopped using them after a while. I feel like I've been talking about this game for so long, but there are still so many points I want to talk about, so let's try and move through the rest of them really quickly. The backpack space is very limited, and you can't upgrade it until later in the game after you've unlocked the Foraging Club quest, which means you're stuck with 10 spaces for a lot of the early game. This issue was made worse by the fact that your fish don't stack, and other items only stack in groups of 9, and there are multiple rarity levels which don't stack together. But to combat that, there is a lot of space in your pantry, I think like 500 spaces. The fishing minigame is quite easy, as you just need to pull in the opposite direction of the fish, and the cooking minigame is fun too, although it can be a bit frustrating in the early game when you can't reach the star because you don't have all the equipment. Speaking of cooking, you'll need lots of plants to grow fruit and veg to make your meals, but rather than tilling the ground in this farming game, you're planting everything in planters. This does cause a few issues with space, especially as planters are really expensive to buy, and you can't buy any vegetables in town. But they do have a cool plant neighbour system where if you grow plants that like each other in the same planter, they'll grow at a higher quality. And your plants don't die at the end of the season, instead they'll continue growing at a slower speed until you can harvest them. Speaking of seasons, the seasons are a lot shorter in Tales of the Shire with only 13 days per season, plus you start in summer. There are also some weird sound mixing things going on where sometimes the music won't play, or you'll ring a bell for a shop and there won't be a sound, or there's no cutlery noises when eating a meal. It's not a huge deal to me, but it is a bit off-putting. And finally, and possibly the biggest drawback for this game, there's no running. While I love skipping around as a hobbit, I'm not sure if it's actually any faster than walking, and this map is big. So I would love to be able to run around it, especially when I have to go back and forth so many times from my pantry because my inventory is constantly getting filled up. Overall, there are a lot of things that I liked and didn't like about this game. And if you're looking for something exceptional that's new and exciting, then you're looking in the wrong place. But I've played over 20 hours at this point and I've been having fun, so I'm going to keep playing to see winter. Having said that though, I would definitely say that this game isn't for everyone. I personally think that Fae Farm is a good touch point, so if you like Fae Farm, you'll probably like this one, and vice versa. In August, we decided to do a backlog blast for our monthly game club instead of buying a new game, and one of the games I finally got around to playing was Jusant. Now, I know this is my July review video, but I already knew the plan for August, so I started a little early, and I cannot believe it took me this long to get around to playing Jusant. I played it on the PlayStation, which is why I'm using trailers instead of gameplay footage, but this game really surprised me. Initially, I chose not to play it because I was worried about the climbing mechanics, but for the most part, they're actually really simple. You're essentially just pressing L2 and R2 the entire game as you scramble up each wall. Although, if this does start to hurt for you like it did me, you can change it in the settings so that you just need to push in the direction of where you want to go. I say for the most part because there was one mechanic I didn't like and it wasn't even the stamina, which I found quite forgiving. It was actually the rope length. There were several times where I'd be climbing a wall and the end was literally within reach, but I'd find that my rope wasn't long enough and I'd have to go all the way back to remove my pitons and do it all over again. Overall though, I'm really glad I got around to finally playing this for two reasons. Firstly, it was such a stunning game. Even though I was obviously playing in my living room, some of those climbs felt incredible. And the relief when I reached the top of a really long climb and turned around to see how far I'd come was inspiring. Every long jump and scramble was satisfying, and even just hanging on the wall, regaining my stamina, and looking around while I did so was an enjoyable experience. But it was also a fantastical one, because this game hides a bit of fantasy beneath its rocky exterior, and travelling from the post-apocalyptic world to the magical one was all part of the fun. With the help of your adorable companion, you can grow sprawling vines in seconds to help you reach new locations, or summon glowing jellyfish to help you jump a lot higher. And that's not even to mention the settings for some of your climbs, but I'll leave that as a surprise for you to discover. The story of the game is a bit vague to start, especially as it's told through letters and signs that you'll find littered around the ruins. Ultimately, you're climbing up this towering mountainside and exploring the remains of the civilization that once called it home. As you progress through the game, you'll find that the rain stopped and the world you're now travelling through is a sun-baked shell of the bustling community that once lived there, and you'll discover the tales of how they tried to fix this issue. Although I will note that it's easy to miss the majority of the story if you're not collecting all of the diaries and notes that have been left behind. It took me around 5 hours to complete Jusant, and an extra hour to revisit previous chapters and find all the remaining collectibles. I played this one for free as part of PS Plus, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who's looking for a quieter, more meditative experience that's more focused on the journey instead of the story. And that's it. I only played 4 new games in July, but they were long games, and I'm slowly chipping away at Fantasy Life in the background too. Plus, August is shaping up to be a very busy month with a ton of new game releases. Let me know down in the comments what you're playing at the moment. Have you got any recommendations for me? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next video. Bye!